When I got to the mixing phase here in the studio, it was a dream to work with so many tracks that were allowing each sound to naturally fill the space. But I did find myself wanting to hear some of the performances in an even larger environment. This is commonly achieved in music mixing by using digital reverb to mimic the sound of a chamber or a hall. But I wanted to bring an even deeper sense of realism to those performances, as though they were originally recorded in a giant concert venue. So what we did is we took those recordings and played them back on a speaker into the gorgeous concert hall at the Aga Khan Museum here in Toronto. By playing the sound into the room, it naturally filled the hall with gorgeous ambience and sounded as though the performer was right there on the stage. We then captured that ambience using collections of very carefully placed microphone arrays designed to capture sound for immersive audio. And then I brought those sounds back here to the studio and mixed it into the music, and it brought the performances to life in a way I have only ever dreamed of. So we're here in the Aga Khan Museum auditorium here in Toronto, one of my favorite rooms in the entire world. We spent all day yesterday and this morning getting everything dialed in, getting the microphones placed, testing playback, and figuring out just how to get this room to sing and bring some beautiful ambience specifically to some of the soloists on the record. What a beautiful experience to be in this glorious space. And so what we've done is we've got a primary array here on the main level, and then up on the balcony, we've got a 5-channel surround DPA 4006 Omni array. So a more traditional sort of 5-point array. And although it's a bit abstract to see it as connected with the most upper layer microphones, there are 4 Omnis by Line Audio, which are hanging down from the rafters. And they're, I don't know, they've got to be 80 to 100 feet off the ground. And when we went up there and started listening, the reverb in that space, because of the brilliant and I don't know, complex design of the ceiling, which has been acoustically designed, there's a rich quality, and some of the upper frequency content sources are really shining up there. So we're gonna hang some Omnis from here.
Yeah.
Look down there. Ooh. Yeah, it's just, wow. I didn't expect that we'd be able to get up here. We've got this sort of main layer, balcony layer, and then rafter layer capture. And all of them are behaving pretty well together. I mean, because it's an ambient capture, it's a little trickier to line up transients and figure out exactly the timing, but we did some timing tests and got the measuring tapes out, and we're very, very careful about making sure things were behaving with each other phase-wise. So this microphone array, 15-channel cardioid array of primarily Shep's MK4 microphones. We've got 9 on the main layer. Now, the idea of doing a 7 plus 4, so 11-channel array, has been mastered by many great engineers. You know, some of my absolute all-time favorites would be Morten Lindberg and Richard King. And this concept of having a microphone array which represents the playback system, the Atmos playback system in this case, and basically replacing each speaker with a microphone and then just letting the array do its job, is at the core of the philosophy. In this room and with the testing that we're doing, the cardioid array really just felt like, I don't know, it's something that's really works for me. It works for the aesthetic that I want. I like the ability to pinpoint and localize a little bit more, especially just on this particular project. It's doing something that I really value. One of the experiments for the day is actually to add the wide surrounds and make the main layer 9, and add the center heights and make the upper layer 6. So we have, from a capture perspective, left, center, right, left wide, right wide, left surround, right surround, left rear surround, right rear surround. So 9 on the main layer. And then we have our front heights, our middle heights, and our rear heights. So it's a 9.0.6 array. And right in the middle is the brand new Soyuz ambisonic microphone. Very fortunate to be good friends with the distributor here in Toronto, and this is the very first one to reach Canada. You know, in general, I do find that I gravitate towards array capture, but I really wanted to give this ambisonic mic a try. They've really gone to great extents to get a rich quality in the capsule and a beautiful sonic character. And so I'm going to be able to fire this up, and it's all timed, so I'm not necessarily looking to use them both at the same time, but A/B them and figure out what's better for the source when it comes time for mixing. So yeah, that's what this main layer array is doing. And we spent a lot of time figuring out exactly what height sounded best. We got the ladders out, and then a lot of time with the tape measures and figuring out exact reproduction angles, as well as just distances to make sure it was equidistant. And it is sounding really beautiful. On stage, what we see is we've got one of the Meyer speakers from here at the hall, which is a beautiful playback speaker. And we spent a lot of time experimenting of how to get the sound into the room. But what we ended up establishing is that by firing the single mono Meyer speaker at the wall at that distance, it's filling the space and engaging the space. Now we're talking.
Yeah, that's way better.
That's the vibe.
That feels a little nicer.
Yeah, it just doesn't get quite as...
More of like the room decay now.
We're also being very careful to EQ the source into the room. You know, listening on headphones in this situation. Over there with Patrick McGroarty, who's engineering today and doing a brilliant job. And then, you know, with Alex Gamble as well last night when we were testing, we just really figured it's so important what we put into the room and to know what we're trying to capture. So we're being very careful about the level of exactly how hard to push the room and what frequency spectrum to put into it.
This is the dry saxophone recording.
Doesn't it sound so beautiful? We're here in the room.
That's delicious.
Oh. Really, the philosophy of the programming and the art that has been created in this space has been about collaboration. It's been about breaking down sort of global and cultural barriers and bringing people together in really meaningful ways. And I have been so honored to have been on this stage playing with people from around the world, playing with people from Toronto, playing with guests from outside. So one of the things that we're going to, play back into the room is the performance that I did on Bass Vina for this record. And not only because I feel as though the sound is actually perfect, the way that the lows bloom in this room, but there's something deeper than that for me, is just bringing the sense of this space into the music. The music that has been made on this stage and what I've been able to be a part of, which again, I'm so honored to have done, has really formed who I am as an artist and who I am as a musician, and philosophically what I believe is important in music. And that is to bring things together, to use music as this unifying language that can bring people from anywhere on the planet together to make something beautiful. And this is a space not just unique to Toronto, but I think to the world, that is focused on that and is doing it at the highest level every single night that they're presenting music. It's in the very ethos of the space. And so I love the idea deep down that we're bringing that energy into the record.
Here we go. All right, stay still.
We learned a lot. The most important, of course, as with all recording, is just to walk around the room and figure out where it sounds best and know what you want. Put your ears in the room and figure out what you want, and then put the microphones there.